my friends. I'm Harry, and my subscribers know who I am. Today about the film Alien Romulus, which awaits us this year. Alien, without a doubt, is one of the most successful and influential films in the genre of science fiction and horror. The story of Helen Ripley's struggle with an acid xenomorph is probably familiar to everyone. Meanwhile, to date, the franchise has 4 main films and 2 spin-offs, not counting, of course, 2 collaborations with Predator. And the names of the directors who worked on one or another part caused genuine surprise. Ridley Scott, James Cameron, and David Fincher. We are expecting a new project in this universe called Alien Romulus. But that's not all, because in addition to the film, we will see a separate series. Today, we will analyze what to expect from a new tape, why the release of someone else's is always an event, and what are the authors going to surprise us with this time. Make yourself comfortable. We are going to the world of xenomorphs. In general, the popularity of someone else's can be explained by a few simple facts. Let's start, perhaps, with the iconic design of the evil alien. Created by artist Hans Giger, Alien is a truly unique and recognizable character. Its strange biomechanical forms, coupled with acid and mucus, can hardly be confused with anything. The image of the evil alien gained legendary status almost immediately after its release. A tense story, an unsettling atmosphere, and an excellent production made the films classics of science fiction, especially the first 2. And of course, in addition to films, the franchise includes video games, comics, books, and much more, which has expanded its influence and audience. Therefore, the release of each new project in the Alien universe is always a long-awaited event in the world of cinema and science fiction. Starting with Ridley Scott's film 1979, we were mostly told the story of Ellen Ripley, performed by the incomparable Sigourney Weaver. It so happened that her heroine met deadly xenomorphs and their countless variants several times. Not all of these meetings she eventually survived, but nevertheless, after the obvious completion of Ripley's journey in someone else's resurrection, they tried to revive the franchise in 2012 with the release of Prometheus. He directed the channel in a new direction, which was then followed by someone else's, The Covenant. Despite the fact that both projects were quite good, they cannot be unequivocally called commercially successful. Therefore, the franchise clearly needed a kind of rethinking, and it is obvious that the creators set a course for this. Consistency may not be the strongest side of Alien films, but it's hard to deny how inventive and innovative SCIFI horror can be. The upcoming film called Alien Romulus is the 7th film of the Alien franchise, excluding crossovers. This time, we are waiting for an independent story, which does not depend much on the previous parts. So if you suddenly didn't watch something, it won't be a reason to skip a new feed. It's about the same thing we've seen in recent Prey in the Predator universe. The film is in fact a prequel, but at the same time, it generally stands apart and at the same time is understandable to all new viewers. For the most part, in the new Alien, we are promised a potential return to the roots, namely to claustrophobic horror, dark corridors, and an unsettling atmosphere. This is what made the picture a legend at the time, so there is hope that we will see the continuation at its best. It probably won't come as a surprise to many that Ridley Scott won't be directing the upcoming project. Although he was responsible for the original 79th year, often other directors expanded the universe and created new stories, and the director of the new tape will be Federico Alvarez. And let his name not be heard, but he looks like a person who can bring fresh ideas. In his filmography, the most striking works are The Sinister Dead, the ideology of Don't Breathe, which, by the way, has shown itself perfectly. He has a lot of experience in the horror genre, so there is a significant probability that a new Alien will receive a serious portion of fear. But despite this, Ridley Scott will still take an active part in the film and work closely with Alvarez. He is the lead producer of the tape, which means that his creative contribution will be important when deciding in which direction the story should develop. Scott has made a lot of great films during his career, so his participation in the sequel to Alien is extremely promising. Officially, by the way, the film Alien Romulus was announced back in March 2022. For a long time, the film was called Alien, and the word Romulus appeared almost 6 months after the announcement date. It was also confirmed that the film will be an exclusive streaming of Hulu, and will be a continuation of the main story. But since there are several other projects in the work now in the Alien world, including the completion of the same Prometheus, it took time to work out the details of the sequel, and so it turned out that the tape will eventually be both a continuation. The filming itself, by the way, officially ended in July of this year, which means there is very little left before the release. As for the cast, unfortunately, we will not see Sigourney Weaver in the sequel. The actress is not against repeating one of her best roles, but definitely not this time. Interestingly, by the way, she has already been offered to return to the role of Ripley in the film Alien 5, which never came out. Joss Whedon, before giving us the first Avengers, wrote the script for the fifth part. The director's chair was to be shared by Ridley Scott and James Cameron himself. Just imagine what could have happened. But Sigourney Weaver was not interested in participating, but agreed to return to the role of Ripley if she liked the script. The fifth numbered film was eventually abandoned, and instead we saw an Alien versus a Predator, which, according to the same Cameron, killed both franchises. Either way, the new installment will include a young cast and take a darker approach, potentially reviving the franchise and exploring new territories. Although we don't know much about the characters, we do know some of the actors. The central role went to Kayla with Penny, who flashed in Pacific Rim 2, and the strong series Meyer from East Town. The actress, by the way, was the first member of the cast, which was officially announced back in November of the 22nd year. They say that her character will not only become the main character of the story, but will also follow in the footsteps of Helen Ripley, which, however, was predictable. The rest of the cast is even less well known, but all the actors were filmed in the middle classes one way or another, which means they will do everything possible to shine on the screens. Well, the absence of any of the previous parts suggests that the studio wants to gently reboot the franchise and direct it to the younger generation. The director of the original Alien and the father of the entire franchise, Ridley Scott, has already watched an early version of the new film. Deadline wrote about this in October of this year, and the most important thing is that Scott called the film damn great, highlighting the visual and dialogues at the same time. For us, this is a serious bell that we will potentially get a new hit that will not disappoint fans and attract fresh blood. The plot of the new Alien, of course, has not yet been revealed, but it will definitely be a film separate from all other parts of the franchise. So far, only a vague but intriguing synopsis is known. We are promised the story of a group of young people in a distant world who find themselves in opposition to the most terrifying form of life in the universe. The film will feature completely new characters who will come face to face with the xenomorph. However, all films in the franchise usually focus on scientists, soldiers, or corporate employees, often in space or on another planet. The plot usually revolves around deadly encounters with one or more xenomorphs. Therefore, fans who note that the idea of a trap with aliens and murderers wanders from one movie to another are unlikely to be mistaken this time. They say that the new film will slightly change the formula, making the new young characters civilian, not military. This is a kind of nod to the teenage slasher in the spirit of Friday 13, and the main actions will take place on a distant planet, and not on a spaceship or Earth. It is also interesting that the name Romulus is still not the final version. This is the working title of the picture, which, as the producers stated, may change before the release. In terms of meaning, an analogy can be drawn with Romulus, who is considered the founder of Rome. Perhaps this was the way the plot message of the tape was indicated, in which the heroes will face the first xenomorph. The release date of Romulus is set for the 16th of August of the 24th year. The announcement of the premiere date of the new film was made in the summer. Given that the strikes of screenwriters and actors have ended in Hollywood, there is a chance that the film will be released on schedule. In any case, we'll see the trailer before that, but it won't happen until the spring of the 24th. It remains only to wait for new details and photos from the filming of the sequel. By the way, Someone Else's Romulus is not the only franchise project that is currently in the midst of production. Producer and screenwriter Noah Hawley, after the 5th season of Fargo, must come to grips with the series in the Alien universe. The project itself was officially announced in December last year. Filming was supposed to begin this year, but for well-known reasons it was delayed. The series does not have a name yet, but Ridley Scott will also act as its producer, and the actions will take place on Earth. Thus, fans of the franchise will be even more immersed in the Alien universe.
On this optimistic note, I want to end my story, and I'm really looking forward to the movie Alien Romulus. Subscribe and comment. May the Force be with you. Bye-bye.